A homeless teenager with nothing but the clothes on his back intervenes in a violent attack at a luxury hotel, saving a young woman from a knife-wielding assailant. When the girl's father arrives with an entourage that fills an entire city block, no one could have predicted what this wealthy Arab businessman would do next. But what would make one of the richest men in the Middle East take a homeless American teen under his wing? The Las Vegas heat radiated off the sidewalk even though the sun had set hours ago. Marcus pressed himself against the cool marble exterior of the Palazzo Hotel, watching wealthy tourists stream through the golden revolving doors. At 17, he'd been on the streets for 5 days now, and the $43 in his wallet felt like it was burning a hole through the fabric. He touched his ribs gingerly, feeling the tender spots where his stepfather's steel-toed boots had connected. The bruises were still fresh, mottled purple and black beneath his faded t-shirt. Marcus counted his money again. 2 20s and 3 1s. Not enough for a hotel room, barely enough for food if he was careful. The fountain show at the Bellagio started across the street, water dancing to music while crowds of people stopped to watch and take photos. Their faces glowed in the lights, happy and carefree. Marcus couldn't remember the last time he'd felt that way. Maybe before his mom died. Maybe before Jake moved in and turned their house into a war zone. A security guard eyed him from the hotel entrance, and Marcus knew he couldn't linger much longer. He looked too out of place here, with his worn jeans and scuffed sneakers, his backpack holding everything he owned in the world. "Keep moving, kid," the guard called out, his hand resting on his radio. "This isn't a shelter." Marcus nodded and started walking down the strip. The neon lights of a dozen casinos competed for attention, flashing and pulsing against the dark desert sky. Street performers worked the crowds. A man painted silver like a statue, a group doing acrobatics, someone playing guitar badly. His stomach growled. He'd eaten a protein bar that morning from a gas station, but that felt like a lifetime ago. The smells from the restaurants made it worse. Steaks grilling, Italian food, the sweet scent of expensive desserts. Marcus ducked into the lobby of the Venetian, following a group of tourists so the doorman wouldn't stop him. Inside, the air conditioning hit him like a wall of ice, raising goosebumps on his arms. The ceiling was painted to look like the sky at sunset, and a canal ran through the middle of the casino with actual gondolas floating on it. He found the public restrooms and washed his face in the sink, trying to make himself look more presentable. The mirror showed a thin kid with dark circles under his eyes and shaggy brown hair that needed cutting. When had he started looking so tired? Back in the main area, Marcus spotted the food court. Maybe he could buy a small coffee, sit somewhere with air conditioning for a while. He was counting his bills when he noticed her. A girl about his age stood near the gelato shop, her designer clothes and expensive bag marking her as someone who belonged in a place like this. She wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than Marcus had spent on clothes in his entire life, and her long black hair was pulled back with what looked like a real gold clip. But it was her face that caught his attention. She looked scared. Her dark eyes kept darting around nervously, and she held her phone like a lifeline, typing rapidly with shaking hands. She reminded Marcus of his little brother Danny, the way he'd looked right before Jake would start one of his rages. That same hunted expression, like she was waiting for something terrible to happen. A man approached her from behind. He was dressed in a suit that might have fooled most people, but something about him was off. The suit didn't fit quite right, and his shoes were scuffed. His movements were too calculated, too focused, as he weaved between the tourists heading straight for the girl. Marcus saw the blade before she did, a flash of metal as the man's hand slipped into his jacket. Not a big knife, but big enough. Small enough to conceal, but long enough to do serious damage. The girl still hadn't noticed. She was looking at her phone, texting someone, completely unaware of the danger approaching from behind. Every instinct Marcus had told him to walk away. He'd spent the last 5 days trying to be invisible, trying not to draw attention, trying to survive. Getting involved would be stupid, dangerous, the kind of thing that could get him hurt or arrested or both. But then the girl looked up, and for just a second, their eyes met, and Marcus saw his brother Danny's face, saw all the times he'd walked away, stayed quiet, let Jake hurt people because he was too scared to do anything else. Not this time. Marcus dropped his backpack and moved. Hey! His voice came out stronger than he expected, cutting through the noise of slot machines and conversations. Hey, back off! The man with the knife spun around, and now the blade was clearly visible, a fixed hunting knife with a serrated edge. Up close, Marcus could see the man's bloodshot eyes and the way his jaw clenched, probably high on something. The girl gasped, finally seeing the threat. She backed against the gelato shop's counter, her phone clattering to the floor. Walk away, kid, the man hissed. His accent was thick, Eastern European maybe. This is business, not your problem. Marcus's heart hammered in his chest. His hands were shaking, and he could feel sweat breaking out on his forehead despite the air conditioning. I think you should leave her alone. The man laughed, a harsh sound that made other people nearby start to notice and back away. You think? Little boy thinks something. He took a step toward Marcus, knife pointed at his chest. I think you should run before I gut you like a fish. Marcus thought about running. Thought about his $43 and how he needed it to eat. Thought about Danny and all the times he'd failed to protect him. Thought about the girl's terrified face. He grabbed a metal trash can next to the gelato shop and swung it at the man. It wasn't elegant or brave. It was pure desperation. The trash can connected with the man's arm, and the knife clattered across the marble floor, sliding under a slot machine. For a second, everyone froze. Then, chaos erupted. The man lunged at Marcus with a roar of rage. They crashed into a group of tourists, sending drinks flying and people screaming. Marcus felt a fist connect with his jaw, stars exploding behind his eyes. He swung back blindly, his knuckles hitting something solid. They rolled across the floor, Marcus trying to keep the man away from the knife while also trying not to get beaten to death. A knee caught him in the ribs, right where his stepfather's boots had been days before, and Marcus cried out in pain. Security! Someone shouted. Someone call security! The man scrambled toward where the knife had fallen, but Marcus grabbed his ankle, pulling him back. They crashed into a row of slot machines, alarms blaring as the impact triggered the sensors. Then suddenly there were hands pulling them apart, big hands, belonging to security guards in black suits. One guard tackled the attacker while another pulled Marcus back, pinning his arms. He had a knife, the girl! Marcus gasped out, his face pressed against the cold floor. We saw the cameras, one of the guards said, his knee in Marcus's back. Stay down anyway until the cops get here. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur of questions and accusations. Police arrived, taking statements from everyone nearby. The man with the knife was handcuffed and led away, shouting in a language Marcus didn't understand. The knife was recovered from under the slot machine, bagged as evidence. Marcus sat on a bench near the casino entrance, a paramedic checking his face where the man had punched him. His jaw throbbed and he could taste blood in his mouth. A police officer stood nearby, asking questions Marcus could barely focus on. So you're just visiting Vegas? Got a hotel room somewhere? Anyone we can call? Marcus stared at his hands. I'm 18, he lied. Just passing through on my way to California. Got a cousin there. The officer didn't look convinced, but before he could push further, a commotion near the entrance made everyone turn. The girl, the one Marcus had saved, burst through a crowd of security guards and hotel staff. Behind her walked a man who commanded attention without saying a word. He was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a perfectly tailored white thobe and a traditional red and white checkered keffiyeh held in place with a black agal. His beard was neatly trimmed, streaked with gray, and his dark eyes swept the scene with an intensity that made Marcus's breath catch. Behind him came at least 15 more men, all dressed in similar traditional clothing, all moving with the coordinated efficiency of a trained security team. They filled the casino entrance, a wall of white fabric and stern faces. "Father!" the girl cried, running to the tall man. She spoke rapidly in Arabic, pointing at Marcus, gesturing wildly. The man listened, his expression unreadable. Then his eyes locked onto Marcus with an intensity that made the teenager want to disappear into the floor. You, the man said, his English perfect but accented. You are the one who saved my daughter. Marcus stood up shakily, very aware of how he must look. Dirty clothes, bruised face, no home to go to. She was in trouble. Anyone would have... No, the man interrupted, his voice deep and commanding. Not anyone. Most would have looked away. He turned to one of the men in his entourage and spoke rapidly in Arabic. The man nodded and pulled out a phone, making a call. "What is your name?" the man asked, turning back to Marcus. Marcus Chen. "I am Khalid al-Rashid. This is my daughter, Amira." He placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. "The man who attacked her was hired by business rivals who thought they could use her to pressure me. You saved her life, Marcus Chen." "I'm glad she's okay," Marcus said, not sure what else to say. The police officer was watching this interaction with interest, his notepad forgotten. Khalid al-Rashid studied Marcus for a long moment. "You are injured. Have you been treated properly?" "The paramedics checked me out. I'm fine." "You are not fine." Khalid gestured to his men. "Take him to Sunrise Hospital, private room, the best doctors they have." "Wait, I can't," Marcus started, but Khalid held up a hand. "Please, it would dishonor my family to leave the young man who saved my daughter injured and alone in a hotel casino." He paused, his sharp eyes taking in Marcus's worn clothes and backpack on the floor nearby. "You have somewhere to stay in Las Vegas?" Heat rose in Marcus's face. He wanted to lie again, but something about this man made dishonesty seem impossible. "No, sir." "How old are you? And please do not lie to me. I have raised 3 children. I know when young people are being truthful." Marcus swallowed hard. 17. I ran away from home. My stepfather." He trailed off, touching his ribs unconsciously. Khalid's expression softened slightly, the only change in his otherwise stern demeanor. "I see." He spoke again in Arabic to his men, then turned back to Marcus. "You will come with us. We will talk after a doctor has seen you." "I don't need Marcus Chen," Khalid said, and despite the gentle tone, it was clearly not a request. "You saved my daughter's life. In my culture, this creates a bond, a debt that must be honored. Please allow me to show my gratitude properly." Before Marcus could protest further, Khalid's men were ushering him toward the exit. The police officer stepped forward, but Khalid handed him a business card and said something that made the officer's eyes widen and nod respectfully. Outside, the Vegas Strip had transformed. Where there had been normal traffic, now there was a motorcade of luxury vehicles. Mercedes S-Classes, Range Rovers, even a Rolls-Royce Phantom, all black, all gleaming under the neon lights. Security personnel in dark suits stood by each vehicle, speaking into earpieces. People on the sidewalk stopped and stared, phones out, taking pictures and videos. This wasn't just wealth, this was the kind of power that stopped traffic and turned heads. Marcus was guided into one of the Mercedes. Amira and her father got in as well, with 2 security men in the front seats. The leather was soft and cool, and the car smelled like expensive cologne and new car scent. "Thank you," Amira said quietly in English, her voice shaking slightly. "That man, he's been following me for 3 days, taking pictures, sending messages. I told my father, but we did not know he would actually attack me." "Are you okay?" Marcus asked. She nodded. "Because of you." She looked at her father. "He could have been killed, Baba. That knife." Khalid placed a hand over his daughter's, speaking to her softly in Arabic. Then he turned to Marcus. "Amira is my youngest, my pride and my worry. She wants to study here in America, to experience independence. I agreed, but I also brought security." His jaw tightened. "They failed me today. You did not." The motorcade pulled up to Sunrise Hospital, and suddenly the emergency entrance was filled with activity. Hospital administrators came out to greet Khalid personally, doctors appeared, and Marcus was whisked into a private examination room that looked more like a hotel suite than a hospital. Over the next hour, doctors examined every inch of him. X-rays for his ribs, which were bruised but not broken, cleaning and bandaging of cuts he hadn't even noticed, ice packs for his swelling jaw, questions about nutrition and rest and when he'd last had a proper meal. Through it all, Khalid waited. Marcus could see him through the room's window, making phone calls, talking with his men, but never leaving. Finally, when the doctors were finished, Khalid entered the room. He'd removed his keffiyeh, and Marcus could see strands of gray in his thick black hair. He looked tired, but determined. "The doctors say you are malnourished and exhausted," Khalid said bluntly. "You have older injuries that were not properly treated. This is not acceptable." "I've been managing," Marcus said defensively. "You have been surviving. There is a difference." Khalid pulled up a chair and sat down. his movements deliberate. "Tell me about your home. Why did you run away?" Something about the man's tone, not demanding, not judging, just asking, made Marcus's defenses crumble. He told him about his mother's death, from cancer 2 years ago. About Jake, the stepfather who'd seemed nice at first but turned mean after the wedding. About the drinking, the rages, the way Jake's fists flew when he was angry. About his little brother Danny, only 12, still stuck in that house. About the final night when Marcus had tried to protect Danny and ended up with boot prints on his ribs and a promise that next time would be worse. When he finished, Khalid was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You have a brother? You left to protect him?" "I was going to call child services once I got somewhere safe. Report Jake, try to get Danny out." Marcus's voice cracked. "I just needed to get away first, figure things out." Khalid nodded slowly. "In my country, family is everything. We protect our own at all costs." He leaned forward. "What if I told you I could help? Not just with a hotel room or a meal, but truly help. With your brother, with your situation, with your future." Marcus looked at him skeptically. "Why would you do that? You don't even know me." "I know you saw danger and ran toward it instead of away. I know you protected my daughter when you had every reason to protect only yourself. I know you care about your brother enough to leave him behind to keep him safe." Khalid stood, pacing to the window. "I have built my fortune on recognizing potential, Marcus Chen. I see it in you." "I don't understand." Khalid turned back to him. "I own hotels, resorts, properties all over the world. My headquarters is here in Las Vegas. I find it amusing, this city built in the desert through sheer determination." He smiled slightly. "I need people I can trust, people with courage and loyalty. These qualities cannot be bought or taught. You either have them or you don't." "You're offering me a job?" Marcus asked, disbelieving. "I'm offering you an opportunity to learn, to grow, to build a future, and to help your brother." Khalid's expression grew serious. "I have lawyers, Marcus, good ones. They can file reports, start investigations, ensure your brother is protected while you get stable. But this works only if you let me help you." Marcus felt tears prick at his eyes. "I can't pay you back. I don't have anything. You saved my daughter's life. We are already even." Khalid placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "In my culture, when someone saves your family, they become family. This is not charity. This is honor." The door opened and Amira entered, followed by several of Khalid's men carrying bags from expensive stores, clothes, shoes, toiletries, everything Marcus might need. She smiled at him. "We guessed your sizes. If anything does not fit, we will exchange it." Marcus didn't even know what to say. "Start by accepting help," Khalid said gently. "The rest we will figure out together." 3 hours later, Marcus stood on the balcony of a suite in the Al Rashid Grand Hotel, one of Khalid's properties. The strip spread out below him, a river of light in the darkness. He wore new clothes that actually fit, had eaten the best meal of his life from room service, and had just gotten off the phone with a lawyer who assured him that Danny would be safe. His new phone, a gift from Khalid, buzzed with a text from Amira. "Tomorrow you meet Uncle Samir. He runs our property management division. He is strict but fair. You will learn much from him." Another text came through, this one from Khalid himself. "Get rest, Marcus. Tomorrow is the first day of your new life. We have much work to do." Marcus looked at his reflection in the glass, a kid who'd been homeless that morning now standing in a luxury hotel suite. It seemed impossible, surreal. But the evidence was all around him, the clothes, the room, the promise of help for Danny, the job that would start tomorrow. Sometimes, Marcus thought, life can change in an instant. One moment of courage, one decision to help someone else, and everything shifts. He'd saved Amira from a knife attack without thinking about the consequences. And in return, he'd been saved too. The city lights sparkled below, and for the first time in years, Marcus felt something that had been absent for too long. Hope. Real, solid, tangible hope for the future. He pulled out his new phone and composed a text to the number the lawyer had given him for Danny. "It's Marcus. I'm safe. Help is coming for you too. Hold on just a little longer. I promise, everything is going to be okay. Outside his window, Las Vegas gleamed in the desert night, a city of second chances and new beginnings. And somewhere out there, his little brother was waiting. But not for much longer. Marcus smiled, feeling the weight finally lift from his shoulders. Tomorrow he would start learning the business. Tomorrow he would begin building a future. Tomorrow he would become someone who could protect the people he loved. But tonight, for the first time in 5 days, maybe 5 years, he would sleep peacefully. And that was enough.